Mike Bond here with former UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion Holly Holm, who meets Irene Aldana on the UFC main event August 1st. Holly, how are you?
I'm doing good. I've been training, kind of expecting something, coming, and here it is. So I'm ready to go. I'm ready to put in more work, and I feel a little bit of a step ahead just because I already kind of just figured something was coming. So I've been training hard already.
Yeah, and I mean, even going back to February, which is, I think, like the last time I really heard you talk much was when you got that jacket from USADA for the 50 clean test. Congrats on that, by the way. But you talked a little bit about how your timeline for fighting was moved up a bit because your father was recovering a lot better than you expected. I guess just first of all, how's he doing now?
Oh, I mean, it's honestly like a miracle. He's doing so good. He's recovered 100%. It's for how big his bleed was and the type of stroke he had, it's just amazing that he doesn't have any paralysis. He doesn't have any memory loss. I mean, obviously, he doesn't remember the hospital at all. He doesn't remember basically about a month of anything, but that's very common to not know or not remember any of that time, that month leading up to my fight. He doesn't really remember any of that, and he never will, but all of his memory before, everything after, and physically and everything, he's just I honestly couldn't have asked for anything more.
Wow, that's awesome. And you look back at that Raquel Pennington fight. I mean, what you were going through with all that going on, the lead up to it, when you look back on what you were able to do and overcome that and get the win, are you pretty proud of yourself for getting through that moment, even what you were dealing with?
Yeah, I think during the time of going through that, it was just kind of like, nobody really knew how he would recover. And so it was one of those things. I think I told myself that no matter what happens, however he recovers, we're going to have to adapt and live with this going forward. So we're still going to have to be able to live our lives and make it work no matter what. This might be something permanent that we're always taking care of him, and this might be something temporary where he's back living on his own like nothing happened. But there was no promise of anything, and I think that just knowing that we're going to have to learn and adapt and move forward regardless.
Holly, I think you're covering the mic a little bit there.
Oh, is that better?
There you go. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I think it was just one of those things that we had to adapt one way or the other. It's if I couldn't do it then, when was I going to learn to deal with it? And everybody's got something going on in their life. Maybe we don't all know about it at the time, but it was a big time. I mean, I've never spent nights in a hospital. That was my rest time in between training leading up to the fight. And even after the fight, he came home here to live with me the day after I got back. And, that was the day he got out. So in a weird way, I felt like it worked out for the better because my fight was over in the time that he needed me 100%. When he was in the rehab facility, I knew that he was in very good hands. And it was at the point where he was already starting to, kind of pull out of it. So I don't know what it would have been like leaving if he was in the middle of this. I don't think I could have done it if it was he's in ICU the week of my fight. That would have been different. Yeah. So I think everything just kind of panned out. I just took one day at a time. And I know when it first happened, I told my coaches, I said, I know everybody's probably wondering if we should keep the fight or not. I said, but we're far enough out right now. I said, honestly, I have no intention of canceling. I don't think that my dad would want that anyway. I think that he would want to move forward. And if this is something that is long-term, we're going to have to figure out how to do this all the time anyway. So one way or the other, it's what life is handing us right now, and we need to deal with it.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad everything is better now, and you guys are all doing well. So
it's so great.
Yeah, and so when we spoke, or when you spoke to the media in February, you were saying maybe you're ready to fight pretty soon, and then obviously the pandemic hits mid-March ish, so no one's really fighting at that point. How did just all that impact you? Obviously, maybe you had to kind of step back and realize you wouldn't be getting a fight in those coming months.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things that I knew I could still run and work out, but also there's only so much we could do because the gym's closed, and To be honest, I just tried to keep my mindset somewhat focused, but not get overly worked up just because I couldn't work out. This is the first time I've had this much time off of, like full training for a fight,
Mhm.
ever being healthy. Okay. So I've had time off of a fight before because of, herniated disc in my neck or my hamstring or my, like knee surgery, like forced time off. This is the first time I've had a healthy time off, and I took advantage of it. I ate what I wanted. I still ran. I still worked out, but I just kind of let go of having that like stress, in the back of your mind. When you have a fight coming up, you've got to do everything, be scheduled, be, eating well. And don't get me wrong, I do eat well majority of the time, even with my time off. But I had a lot more dessert than normal. There's a little more pizza than normal. I made sure to work out, and I don't ever want to start at square one coming back into a training camp. So I made sure to stay on it and not like gain weight. But it was just kind of nice to just, I'm going to have some cocktails on a Friday night at my friend's house because that's all we can really do is just be around family. There was just a couple of us that would like, that's all we could really do is just like eat dinner. There's like four of us, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, that's what we would do. It'd be basically the same people I'd be hanging out with, but just have a cocktail, make some food, and just relax a little bit and not have this constant like pressure of like, that goal or that deadline in the back of your mind. So that's all we really could do. So I might as well take it and enjoy it. Everything that comes in life, I just try to, okay, this is what we're dealing with right now. So let's do it.
For sure. And obviously you kept occupied with many workout videos that you posted and some great dance videos. I mean, you're killing it there too.
Yeah. Got to do a little bit of that too, There's extra time at home for sure, so there's extra time to do that. I'll tell you what, I don't know how all these people do like a ton of TikTok videos all the time. That is very time consuming. I don't have time to do that. But when I wanted to do something like that, it's definitely fun. I have a great time with it. The workouts, I mean, those are something we were doing anyway, so that's kind of an easier thing to be able to put it on. And there's actually some workouts I did with our strength training gym on their Zoom app, just kind of for the the members there to be able to the clientele there to be able to have like just a variety because you can only do so much body weight workouts at home. So just to change it up, so I was still doing little strength workouts here and there on my own, and I helped with probably once to twice a week. We would do the Zoom workouts online, which is it makes me have to go do the workout anyway. And I actually had a couple teammates that we did like a goal. It's like, you know what, let's run 100 miles in this month, and no matter what happens, like we got to get to 100, And so I wanted to get into like 106 or 107, I think. So it just gave a goal so that I can get lazy,
Do you have a favorite TikTok video out there?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know. Some of them are just, it's like a long rabbit hole when you get on there. You can start watching and there's a lot that make me laugh, but I like any of the dancing TikTok videos. The one I did, the drip, I mean, sometimes you look at those things, you think they're a little easier. I'm not a dancer. I do fighting, not dancing. I try to dance. Well, it's fun to dance. That's
not bad. Your open workouts are great. Come on. I think you're giving yourself enough credit here, Holly.
I like to dance. So that's how, like, for me, that's as far as it goes. But, like, to actual dancers out there, like, there's a respect I have for them because it is hard. Like, to memorize the steps and be on the beat. And the one I did in front of my BMW was actually, like, it was actually a lot faster than it looked when I was watching it. When I was doing it, I was like, man, I was like way behind the beat at first. It took a while for me to catch up. But it was actually one of the funner dances, I thought, I guess.
That's great. So at what point along the line here do you get approached about fighting Irene on August 1st?
I don't really do like a lot of that talk myself. I kind of just let my manager and my coach kind of talk about it. And then they tell me, hey, we were thinking, or they brought forward, Irene Aldana, and I'm like, that sounds great. Let's do it. And we just kind of waited for them to say what date it was going to be, because at first they were thinking July, and then they changed it to August. So that's where we're at now, August 1st. And it's just one of those things. I say, just tell me the date, and then then I'll prepare myself. Excuse me, I'll prepare myself.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you just make of the matchup? Obviously, she's coming off a pretty nice KO of Ketlen Vieira.
Yeah, that's a a lot of people did not see the fight going that way. A lot of people saw Vieira as being, undefeated for a long time. And so that's a huge win. And I think that shows not just something, kind of technical wise, but also kind of the psychological part. She didn't walk in there feeling defeated. She went in there with all the confidence in the world that she was going to win. And I think that that's what makes a fighter very difficult, is when they really believe in themselves. And so I know I have my work cut out for me. As with that being said, I know I'm going to be taking on the best, Irene Aldana yet, and it's not going to be enough, because I truly believe that I am still, a lot to show with my career, and that's what I'm planning on doing.
Yeah, what do you think this fight means? Because I think a lot of people, after Amanda Nunes beat Felicia Spencer last week or the week before, whenever it was, they were saying she goes back to 135. Arena seems like maybe the most logical contender there. But then a few days later, it comes out you two are fighting. So that kind of took her off board. So, I mean, if they're talking about her as the number one contender there, I know you're always in the title mix. But, I mean, do you think that kind of could lead to that? Or what do you think in this case right here?
I've fallen short of getting that title back more than once, and it's frustrating, but I know that I keep fighting the very top ranked girls, and so I'm kind of constantly right there, and I'm still aching for it. I still want it, and that's a lot to say. It's easy. I mean, some people, I think that, I want the belt, and they don't really think about it. I know exactly how much work that takes to get there, and I know that it takes a big commitment. And you got to win fights along the way. And when the opportunity comes, I can't let it slip through my fingers again. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's right there. I know, some people say, oh, she's had plenty of title fights. Well, there's a reason, because I keep fighting the best and I keep staying right there. And a lot of times I'm just one fight away. And, but no matter what, I have Irene Aldana in front of me. And, I think before they were really kind of saying that, with the Nunes fight, I was already presented the fight with Aldana before that fight actually happened. And so I think, I mean, the talk has already been there. It's just, we just put it out because the contracts and everything finally came in and everything. But, they kind of told us that name and things like that for a couple weeks prior. And so, I mean, I don't know exactly how many weeks, but maybe one, maybe two before the fight actually even happened with Nunes. So, and I know Nunes is going to come back. She'll want to go back and defend the 35-pound belt as well. And yeah, I think, Irene Aldana coming off of a knockout with Vieira made a lot of sense. And so a lot of people were talking about that. But I think they just wanted to set up, one more fight. And yeah, whoever wins this fight could definitely be next in line for the belts. So who knows?
For sure. And you say you're, aching for that belt back. What do you miss most about being the champion? Would you say that, drives, is it just the recognition, the money that comes with it? What's the kind of the layers that go into wanting that so badly?
It's just knowing I'm number one.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's not really necessarily the recognition from other people. It's not trying to prove anybody, wrong. It's just, I work so hard that I want to be the best so that I can be the best, and that's it. When you have the belt on you, that means you've beat the best, and that's what I want. I want to be number one.
Absolutely. And do you think Amanda will be there when you get back to it? Because she's saying, as recently as these past couple of days, maybe she's considering walking away. She feels she's achieved, everything there is to be done in her own career. I mean, do you kind of see that narrative for her and why she'd maybe want to do that? And do you think she'll ultimately follow through?
She's kind of been pretty active and been on a roll. Obviously, she's ran through everybody. And so sometimes maybe she feels a little satisfied. So maybe she doesn't feel that urge to want to keep on it. But then again, you have a little bit of time in between fights. Sometimes it's like, oh no, I want to do it again, So I don't know. We'll see what she really does. I know that she's at a place where I don't think anybody would blame her for walking away, but I don't know if she really wants to walk away. She might want to keep fighting, When you're on top, sometimes it's hard to walk away from that. So I think that's just going to be however she feels. Life always is going on for everybody outside of the the cage as well. So it's like, a lot of people are feeling certain things in their life. If wherever she wants to take her path, more power to her. But I hope she's still there so that I can get a rematch with her.
For sure. Is that the most dangerous thing you think for like a champion like her, or like a John Jones, who you obviously see, super often, is kind of that level of maybe complacency? You achieve so much, and then maybe it's hard to get up for the next challenge when it's maybe not as big as the last one in terms of like a name or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I think I think every fight has its own kind of motivation with it, and some are going to be higher than others. I'm sure she felt different emotions going into the fight with Cyborg than she did going in the fight with Spencer. That doesn't mean one was more important than the other, but there's just different feelings. Every fight has its own journey, and I'm sure she's kind of experienced a lot of like really big highs and kind of stayed on top, and so then you know you're capable. And that's the other thing, is that then there's the pressure of, well, everybody expects me to win, so I better stay on it. I've been running through everybody, so I better actually have a good performance. I think sometimes, like with somebody, let's just say John Jones, they are so used to him dominating so much that even if there's like somewhat of a close round or a tough fight, I don't know, what do you think? Do you think you really did good? Because they get so used to somebody doing so well. And so you get to the point where you have everything to lose and nothing to gain. And so I think sometimes that changes how some fighters feel. But I think it's still, if you've made it to that point of being a champion like that, you didn't get there just by chance. You got there because you were passionate about it. You worked hard. It's something you love to do. So it's one of those things that's like, well, it's hard to walk away from that. So she might want to keep going forward. She might want to keep fighting. There's still, I'm sure, a lot that she feels that she can prove, but she also doesn't feel like she has to. So I think it's just going to be however she feels going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned John Jones there, and I don't want to get into a whole, fighter pay discussion or anything, but I'm sure you've been following, somewhat what's been going on with him. He's obviously, UFC and himself are not in the greatest spot right now in terms of the relationship. What do you just hope to see happen with John? I know he feels, he wants certain things, and, UFC has made their opinions very clear. What do you hope to see happen with John in the near future here?
I think everybody wants to watch John fight again.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one. But I think that he's in a place that I don't think he feels pressure. Some career in fighting is such a short career, really. It's not, something you're going to do when you're 50 and 60. You got to take advantage of it when those opportunities are there. And so there's that, but there's also some fighters feel like, oh man, I need to fight this many times in a year and I need this and that. Like they're trying to build their career. But sometimes when you get to a spot, it's not like you feel like, man, I need to fight every 3 months. I need to fight every, 2, 3, 4 months. Like I want to be active. I want the more. He's in a place that he's comfortable. He's got a lot going for him in his life. He's, got a family at home. So I don't think right now that he feels this big pressure of like having to just please, everybody. I think he's kind of, I haven't talked to him about this, by the way.
Okay.
So this is just what I'm saying as far as, it's not like I've sat down and talked to him. I actually haven't seen him in quite some time, but he's spending a lot of time with his family at home, and you never know, that sometimes is just, well, you know what, I've missed out on family time while I've been training here and there, and now I'm kind of enjoying this home time. So I don't think that he necessarily feels pressure, I guess, to get right back in there because he's done so much. It is, like I said, a short window of opportunity to have a career in MMA, but he has done so much that I don't think he feels like he has to. And I think that any fighter, especially in that position, should fight only when they really want to anyway. It's like that way their passions behind it, their wants, and their to get in there and really do it. Those are the best fights to watch anyway, when people's hearts are involved. So if they can't come to an agreement, I mean, I guess maybe he's just kind of taking it a day at a time too. I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully they get sorted because I think, like you said, we all want to see him back in there fighting. And before I let you go, just a couple random questions here. I did want to get your take or prediction on this weekend's fight. We have Raquel Pennington fighting Marion Renault. Obviously, you fought both of them. Just how do you think that one ends up going?
You know what I think about them? They're not similar styles, but they're similar in a way, the fact that they're kind of both good in scrambles. They both have, some pretty good technical striking skills. And I feel like it's, it could be one of those pretty close back and forth type fights. It's hard. So anybody I beat, this is just me. Anybody that I beat, I want that fighter to go beat everyone else. I don't want to beat someone that like loses everyone else.
Right, of course.
I want them to be that good, and so, but the fact that I fought both of them, I'm kind of just up in the air, but the fact that I just fought Raquel, it's like, well, I want her to do well, but it is one of those things, like anybody, win or lose, anybody I fight, if I've had a loss, this person better not ever lose to another person again, because they better be that good. It bothers me. Some people maybe get like, oh, don't you want them to lose? And I'm like, no, they better be that good. If I, like both ways, I want to know that I'm fighting the best. And, both of these girls they're talented. They're kind of both of them are pretty well-rounded. They've got, submissions on their wins. They've got decisions on their wins. They've both boxed. So I feel like it could be one of those fights that can be really unpredictable. They might be in a scramble and who knows where they're going to end up, they're both tough. I know that they both got that going for them. So I'm excited to watch the fight. I'll be watching for sure.
For sure, and kind of similar to what your fight will be, kind of all the talk of the town right now is it'll be in a venue with a smaller cage and with no fans in attendance. What are your thoughts on kind of both those things for your fight to be fighting in that environment, which will obviously be a little bit different than 56,000 people in Australia?
Right, it will be definitely different, but I've fought a lot of my career in smaller venues, and when you get in there, I mean, even if it's in training, you might be my best friend and I'm sparring with you, but I still want to hit you more than you hit me. I still don't want you to hit me at all. So I know once the fight starts and I get in there, it's just, that's what it is. You're there to fight, and it's the passion of wanting to win and I hate to lose that will keep me motivated to go, no matter if there's people in the stands or not. And I think one thing that's a big thing is we all have to remember, they may not be physically sitting in the stands, but there's millions watching all over the world. You have to know that you're still fighting in front of millions of people. They're just not maybe there. You can't hear their screams, but they're there. So I just want to keep it in my head that, they're there cheering me on, and I need to go forward. And the smaller cage, I feel, I don't know what the exact difference is, but, I've fought in every size cage and ring in boxing. It was never really like the same standard size. Footwork's a little different. Things that you do you can kind of change up a little bit of the game plan. I know Irene's coming from, kind of, she's more of like the old boxer background. Like, she's more of like the striking. Not saying she doesn't have ground game. She does. She'll reach for legs and stuff. But I'm sure she's probably fought in every type of cage as well. So I'm sure that we'll both be in there and be able to adapt. It's just up to me to make the better choices while I'm in there.
Yeah, is the Jackson Wink cage a full regulation octagon, or is it like slightly smaller? Can't recall because I've been there, but it doesn't seem like it's as big as the actual official UFC octagon.
We have two cages there. One's definitely a little smaller,
Yeah.
and I fought my first part of my leading up to my UFC fights. All except for 2 fights were actually in the cage, the smaller cage that we have locally at our gym now. So there's 2, one's smaller than the other, but I like to train in both anyway. It's just good to kind of get that feeling, you feel that cage right behind you a little sooner when you're in the smaller cage, and your footwork's got to be a little bit more on point. I want to say that our big cage is, if it's not the same, it's very close.
Okay, very cool. And before I get you out of here, I mean, you mentioned the boxing of Irene. Obviously, that matches up well with you. Do you have a prediction or just a vision in mind and how this fight unfolds on August 1st?
Really, my goal is just to be cleaner, stronger, sharper, more well-rounded. I want to do all of that. I know that she's coming. She's got a lot of movement. She's got some long punches. She's got long arms. You know, she's one of those taller bantamweights. So there's, you know, every fighter brings their own kind of strengths. And my job is to just be better at any of those things. And that's what I'm training to do.
Awesome, Holly. Well, you've given me more than enough time. I hope I'm not giving you too much of an arm workout there by holding up the phone the whole interview.
That's all right. I got it rested up here.
Okay, perfect. Well, really appreciate the time, Holly. It's
Thank you.
Thanks for the time.
All right.
Have a good day.